Wave of COVID-19 cases due to XBB subvariant, and EC told to make voting process easier for East Malaysians in GE15. That and more coming up. Malaysia is experiencing a small wave of COVID-19 cases following the detection of the Omicron XBB subvariant in the country. According to Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin, the number of new infections increased by 16.5% in the past week.
Yang mendorong kenaikan ini adalah daripada subvariant XBB yang telah pun menjadi punca kepada gelombang di Singapura baru-baru ini. Singapura telah baru melalui satu gelombang XBB yang telah mengambil masa dalam 3 hingga 4 minggu untuk menurun, dan barangkali kita juga berdepan dengan jangkitan yang merebak daripada XBB.
4 cases linked to the XBB subvariant, also known as BA210, have been recorded in Malaysia so far. The new strain has been detected in over 30 countries and is said to be resistant to vaccines and antibodies from previous infections.
GE15 candidates who test positive for COVID-19 will be required to undergo quarantine. However, Khairi Jamaluddin says they will still be allowed to exercise their right to vote.
Khairi suggested for COVID-positive candidates to continue campaigning online while in isolation. He urged political parties and their candidates to use face masks in confined spaces or when canvassing for votes door-to-door. Those holding talks in crowded halls should also make announcements for attendees to wear face masks. The Health Ministry projects daily COVID-19 cases to range between 3,000 to 5,000 after GE15. Khairi said it was highly recommended for everyone at polling centres to use face masks, including election workers on duty.
The United Progressive Kinabalu Organisation, UPKO, a component party of Pakatan Harapan, will contest 5 parliamentary seats in Sabah for GE15. President Datuk Sri Wilfred Madias Tangau, who is also the 4-term incumbent Tuaran MP, said that he would be defending the seat. Meanwhile, Vice President Dato' Iwan Benedict, the Kedamaian State Assemblyman, would be contesting in Penampang against incumbent Warisan Deputy President Dato' Darrell Liking. Other candidates from the party include Deputy Information Chief Rowindi Lawrence in Kimanis, Youth Chief Felix Joseph Saang in Beluran, and Deputy Secretary General Dr. Peter Junior 19 in Libaran. When asked on speculation that incumbent Kota Marudu MP and Parti Bersatu Sabah President Datuk Sri Dr. Maximus Ongkili might move to contest in Tuaran, Madias said he was prepared to face any challenges in the spirit of democracy. The Election Commission should look to reform its voting processes for East Malaysia. According to Beverly Joman from CSO Platform for Reform, this includes looking at travel and logistical issues for those from Sabah and Sarawak to return and vote.
We need to reform the SPR. If we can have a better election system, then so be it. Sabah, Sarawak, working in Semenanjung or vice versa. We're having problems now because we know flights are expensive, although there's a reduction of price in, they were told to reduce it. But still, it is difficult for us to, every time there's a PRN, PRU, we got to run home to vote, and that is very expensive for us.
Beverly also emphasized the importance of voters to make decisions based on what is best for them in the long run, rather than short-term gains.
It is important for us to make an informed decision, not just to follow so-and-so because so-and-so said, because he's been the MP for there for the longest time. We need to make an informed decision. We need to do a little bit of desktop study, look up MP profiling info, and check out your MP, check out who are the candidates, and don't sell our votes. Tolong jangan jual undi kita. So for mere 50 ringgit or beras or zinc or even the infamous tangki biru. So it is very important that we have to think about the critical issues that will be affecting us after the election.
She also urged political parties to pay better attention to livelihood issues in order to ensure the people's grievances are addressed.
Being from Sabah, the most common grounds that we have as citizens, as voters, the lack of good roads, the lack of the electricity has always been cut off, and also the governance of the state. But bringing it back to the reforms, what is it that we should look out for? We should listen out for parliamentary and state legislative assembly reforms. Because whenever we tune into the parliamentary life, it will be debate that people shout, our representatives shouting at each other. We want debates that are livelier, with more facts, and it comes from the grassroots. I mean, these are the issues that are really affecting the livelihood of the people. So talk about bread and butter issues. Don't talk about projects that are multi-billion projects, but you don't look at what is on the ground. You know, you don't talk to people on the ground. You only come to the ground when you are in need for votes, like now. You know, suddenly everyone is so good in going into the end of the kampung. And stay away from racial and religious politics. You know, we don't need this kind of narratives in Sabah. It doesn't work with us because we have always been known or seen as being muhibah. We can live with each other. Let it be, have a peaceful campaign, have a good campaign, but please look at the bread and butter issues that will improve the livelihood of Sabahans more.
As nomination day draws near, we are getting a sense of what the candidate lineup might look like come Saturday. Tonight on Consider This, we ask our guests what the seat allocations tell us about calculations and compromises made by parties. Now, as we head to the polls on November 19th, we will be featuring Question of the Day to get your thoughts. Today, we would like to know if your ideal MP candidate is not contesting in GE15, will you still go out and vote? Share with us your answers. All you have to do is scan the QR code on the screen right now. And for more, head over to undi.astroawani.com to answer these daily questions. Five mobile network operators have agreed to use Digital Nasional Berhad DNB's 5G network, paving the way for the services to be rolled out to customers after months of delayed talks. Digi.com, Axiata Group and U-Mobile have joined Telekom Malaysia and YTL Communications in announcing that they have signed an agreement to access DNB's 5G single wholesale network, which means at the moment all Malaysian telcos are on board with DNB except for Maxis. Now, in a statement this evening, Maxis says that the board is still evaluating the governance requirements for the 5G access agreement and is committed to playing an active role in bringing 5G to the nation and to utilize the national 5G network. Out of the five mobile network operators, TM, DG, YTL and Axiata Celcom have signed on for a combined 65% stake in DNB, with the government holding the remaining 35%. U-Mobile had held out on taking a stake but has now signed on to subscribe to the 5G service. Malaysia's 5G plans have been repeatedly set back since last year amid an impasse between the government and carriers over pricing and transparency, including concern that a sole state-run network would result in a nationalized monopoly. DNB, a special purpose vehicle owned by the Finance Ministry, has been tasked with driving the 5G infrastructure in Malaysia. We'll take a quick break. Stay tuned. from over 50 CCTV cameras as well as from social media, looking for answers to how a crowd surge killed 154 people over the weekend. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo has promised to conduct a thorough investigation into the incident, saying the country would do its best to make institutional changes so that such an accident would not occur again.
The tragedy took place on Saturday night in Itaewon, a popular nightlife district. Tens of thousands of people had descended on the area to celebrate Halloween, excited about the prospect of partying again after 2 years of strict COVID restrictions in the country. The crash began in a sloped and narrow alleyway, but officials don't yet know the cause or the circumstances that led to it. The victims, many of them teenagers or in their 20s, died when a surging crowd packed into the alley, setting off a deadly panic. 26 foreign nationals were among the dead. Nearly two-thirds, 98 of the victims, were women. Funerals for some of the victims have begun taking place. Nearly 150 others were injured, including 33 in serious condition.
At least 141 people have died in India's Gujarat state when a pedestrian bridge collapsed into the river below. Authorities said nearly 500 people were celebrating a religious festival on the suspension bridge when supporting cables snapped after dark on Sunday. Rescue operations are still ongoing as many more are feared missing. So far, 133 bodies have been returned to family members. The 140-year-old bridge in the town of Morbi had been reopened just days earlier after repairs. Officials in Western India say the bridge had not received a safety certificate. A private company had taken control of the bridge and had spent 7 months renovating the structure before reopening it last Wednesday. India's Congress has demanded a judicial inquiry into the bridge collapse, while Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the Gujarat state government has set up a committee to investigate the incident. Over in the Philippines, the death toll from tropical storm Nalgae has jumped to 98, and the number is likely to rise, with the National Disaster Agency recording 63 people still missing and scores injured. Over half the deaths were from flash floods and landslides after the storm hit the southern island of Mindanao last Friday. Authorities shifted from search and rescue to retrieval operation, saying chances of survival after 2 days are almost nil. Nalgae inundated villages, destroyed crops and knocked out power in many regions. State weather forecaster warned that another tropical depression was heading towards the country, even as Nalgae has moved across the South China Sea. Brazilian leftist leader Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva won in a runoff election against President Jair Bolsonaro. The former president's comeback was a punishing blow to Bolsonaro, the first Brazilian incumbent to lose a presidential election. But the far-right Bolsonaro did not concede defeat. He might contest the result.
The Supreme Electoral Court declared Lula the next president, with 50.9% of votes against 49.1% for Bolsonaro. The 77-year-old Lula's inauguration is scheduled for January 1st. Lula vows to return state-driven economic growth and popular social policies during his 2 terms as president from 2003 to 2010. He also promises to combat destruction of the Amazon rainforest and make Brazil a leader in global climate talks. Bolsonaro last year openly discussed refusing to accept the results of the vote, claiming Brazil's electronic voting system was vulnerable to fraud. He lost support as Brazil ran up one of the worst death tolls of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Before we leave you tonight, we want to hear your thoughts on GE15. Here is the question of the day displayed on the screen. All you have to do is scan the QR code on the bottom left of your screen. The results of these questionnaires will be revealed daily. Be sure to exercise your right to vote this upcoming election. My name is Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching and good night.